What's up everyone, this is Trend Kill Toys. Today I'll be taking a look at the Frontline Chaos Hana Maid figure. And this is the 6-inch line from the Joytoy brand. And this is the third one that I own. The previous ones, and if you want to see reviews of them, they're also on my channel. The Lai Mechanic and the Rin Sniper figures. So like I said, I got reviews of those on the channel. And the newest one is the Maid figure. And here you can see the boxes are different colors. I like the color of the new one. It's kind of like a periwinkle, like a light purple, lilac purple. So that's pretty cool. And also the art is unique, and it's kind of similar but a little bit different. And like the ink is a lot darker, or the printing is a lot darker than the first one. And it's pretty much similar to the second one, which is the mechanic figure. So that's pretty cool. Looks like the art is getting better. It's still in that kind of anime style, which is cool. So I've messed with the figure a little bit, not too much. I'll be giving most of my thoughts, on camera here. So this is what the figure looks like right out of the package, and you get a package of salt to go with it. So right away the figure looks pretty nice. I like how the dress fits on the figure, and the style is pretty good. It's not too cartoony, it's not too realistic. It's kind of a mix between the two. Obviously the face is kind of like an anime style, but the paint turned out really good. You also have the thing on the hair. I'm not sure what it's called, like a bonnet or something, hairband or whatever. So that turned out pretty good. The hair is of course white. The eyes and lips are painted very nice, and you got a little bit of blush on the cheeks. I don't know if the camera is going to pick that up, but there's a tiny bit of rosiness on the cheeks. And like I said, the dress is really good. There's one problem that I'm going to mention in a little bit, and she does have her leggings, which is actual cloth. It's not painted. In the promotional images I thought they were like painted like that, but it's actually cloth. And it's not like the previous figure, which had, on the Rin Sniper, she had leggings as well, and they were like more like tights. These are more like stockings, so they only go up to the thigh. So it's not like the tights style that the Sniper had. So just, that's a difference. It's not exactly the same. So I'm not going to go over the articulation too much because it's just the same body that the rest of the figures use. One issue that you will run into is, of course, with the elbows. So the elbow likes to come out of socket, like you can see right there. So you just have to kind of pinch it back in, and then sometimes it goes back in, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't go back in, and this figure has that problem more than the second one, the mechanic figure. I'm hoping that they fix that in this figure, and it doesn't happen as often, but it's kind of hard to see because it's hidden by the sleeves. One major problem is that the black parts of the dress stains the figure. It shows up a little bit on the arms. I don't know if the camera is going to pick that up, but it does show up there. And I'm assuming it, gets worse on other parts of the figure. I think it's a little bit more apparent on the wrist there. So I don't know if you guys can see that. You can kind of see it on camera. It's more noticeable in person. But it does stain, and it's even worse on the back side of the figure. So I'm only going to show her bottom to show you that the dress stains it, and that's where the worst part is. So just so you guys know, be careful, putting this next to other figures that could be stained by the black cloth. So that is something to be aware of, and I'm warning you of that, just so you guys know. So that's pretty disappointing. I know a lot of different figure companies struggle with cloth staining the figures, so it's not an easily fixed problem, but I think some other companies deal with that better than others. It's just unfortunate that this is happening on this particular figure. Anyway, like I said, the articulation is the same as the other figures. If you want to see the articulation, you'll have to see my review of the other figures. So now we'll get into the accessories that she comes with, which are unique. She comes with a sword, and this is the sword in the sheath. She comes with 2 of those, and she comes with 2 knives, which are also in their sheaths, and they have a clip that you can clip it on to her harness, which I forgot to mention earlier, but you know, she's not just wearing a typical maid outfit, she's also wearing a harness over that, and that's where you can store the weapons on. And then she also comes with 2 other sets of hands, fists and relaxed hands. Right now she has the weapon gripping hands. One thing that kind of worries me about the swords is that they're kind of flimsy, and it's a little bit hard to take them out of the sheath. You have to use some force, but you got to be careful of, you know, you got to be careful that you don't break them. And like I said, the blades are flimsy. It's not a stiff plastic, so I guess that's so they don't break, so they're not as brittle. They're more flexible. They can take more damage, and you know, playing with them. The knives are easier to take out, and that's what they look like. So it's a black blade with a silver handle and then a silver edge to the blade, and they're both the same. And then of course she can hold the swords as you'd expect, and it's pretty easy to put them in. Alright, so here's another problem that I just ran into. The swords are kind of loose in her hands. So, like, especially this one. Like, it's not... She doesn't really have a tight grip on it. So it's kind of annoying that she doesn't really hold the sword as tightly as she should. But I mean, the figure looks cool with the swords. So, and the clothes don't restrict the mobility of the figure, so you can still get pretty cool poses. So yeah, she holds the knives pretty good, probably better than the swords actually. So there's what that looks like. Something that kind of hit me was her expression. She has like a worried expression. It's not really an expression that you'd expect, you know, somebody with knives to have. So I'm not sure why they went with that expression. You know, without the weapons, it makes more sense, I guess. But I don't know, for a character that's fighting, the expression doesn't really fit with that. So it's actually kind of hard to put the sheaths on the harness. It takes some time. You got to mess with it a little bit to get it on there the right way. But eventually it does go on. And then I think the sword sheaths, I think they go here, and then you tighten up the loop. I'm not sure how to tighten the loop, so maybe it doesn't go there, but there's really no other place it could go. So I'm not sure how that works, but I guess you can just put it anywhere, like on the back of the figure. It also fits. So I mean, that's one way you can display it. I don't know. I'm not sure how to put it through there. So here's what the figure looks like with the swords and the sheaths and the knives in the sheaths on the harness. You know, so she can be cleaning the kitchen and the living room, and then if there's an intruder, you know, she's ready to pull her swords out and defend your house. So that's pretty cool. In my opinion, it would have been better if they included some like cleaning stuff, like a mop and a broom. Maybe the mop and broom could come apart into a sword or something, like there's a hidden sword in the broom. I think that would have been cool. I honestly would have preferred that, so you can have it displayed as a regular maid or as a maid with a sword. I think that would have been the best way to go about it. So I guess the last thing I'll show is kind of how to take the harness and some of the clothes off. So the clasp on the harness looks like a real like clasp, but it doesn't actually come apart. So I don't think it actually comes off that way. I think you just have to pull it. So here's the figure with the harness taken off. Now it looks more like a traditional maid. And the harness was actually really hard to take off, especially over the hips. It took some like messing around and pulling it down here, pulling it over here. So it does take a while, and I think I might have broken a part of it. Also, I took a look at the body under the dress, and there's a lot more stains on it than I saw before. On the back of the torso, and on the upper back, and on the stomach of the figure, and on the chest, there are black stains on there, and that, again, that's from the dress. So you guys got to be careful of that. Make sure you don't put this next to another figure that can get stains on it. And then, like I mentioned before, you can take the apron off. I went ahead and did it. Now you can put the apron on any other figure, and then you have this with just the plain black dress, which is good for a whole lot of different things. The bow does not come off, it's tied to it, so you have to cut it off if you wanted to take that off. So here's the Maid figure next to the mechanic and the sniper figure. As you can see, she's a little bit taller than the other ones, which is kind of interesting. I guess is because she's wearing high heel kind of shoes. And here it is next to a custom female G.I. Joe trooper, and that's using the Lady J body. So, and the Maid is taller than that figure too. Here's the PW Toys Leon, and they're about the same height. Here's a Marvel Legends Spider-Man, and here's a Marvel Legends Iron Man. And here's the Mattel He-Man. So He-Man is way taller than this figure. Last but not least, here's the Patriot Studios Joker. So now the very last thing that I wanted to do was some head swaps. So of course you can swap the heads with the other figures in the same line, like that. And like that. So that doesn't look too bad. And then of course you can swap the head the other way. But obviously that doesn't really make sense, doesn't really work. Now this is what I was looking forward to the most. I always like swapping heads on other figures and stuff like that, taking pictures and just making something different. So here's a Ada Wong head sculpt. Now you have Ada Wong in a Maid outfit. So there's that. That looks pretty good. Here's the Marvel Legends Silk unmasked head. That looks pretty cool too. And then you can pretty much put any female Marvel Legends head on it if you have a little bit of tack, so that the head sits on it properly. And here's the last head swap I'll show you. And this head is actually the April O'Neil from the TMNT Power Rangers crossover 2-pack. I just got the head because I thought it looked nice. Kind of reminds me of Dorothy from the anime Big O. This is like the live action Netflix version of it. And then the last thing I'll show you is that she can hold guns, which is very cool. She doesn't have a trigger finger, but she can still hold the guns very well, so that's awesome. So that's the end of the review. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys are picking up the figure, or if you have the figure, let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you think of this line so far. And yeah, I'm still excited for the other figures that are going to be coming out. So this figure is probably the best one so far. The figure just feels a lot more sturdier, more stable than the rest of the figures. And I think the presentation, the look of the figure came out really well. And like I mentioned before, a lot of customization options, a lot of different things you can do with it for pictures and poses and displays, dioramas, whatever. So that's cool. A lot of potential with this one. So far it's my favorite one, and it has me excited for the rest of the figures coming out. Like with this release, I was kind of disappointed. It kind of let me down. And the first one was good, but obviously there's a lot of mistakes with it. Same thing with the second one. But now that this one's out, it's got my hopes up for the future releases. So I'm looking forward to those anyways, and I'll see you in the next review.